And so another decade has come and gone. Yes, folks, that's right, the 2010s are over. And yes, I know what many of you are thinking. Andres, you're really going to be giving into the trend of listing your top 10 shows of the past 10 years? And to those people, I say, yes, I am. So, in today's video, I'm going to be bringing you my top 10 favorite shows of the past decade, some of which I have seen, others which I have not. So please sit back, relax, and let's go right into the listing. And number 10 is Finding Neverland. Now, this was the first real Broadway musical I actually liked. You see, before Finding Neverland, I liked Beauty and the Beast and all of the Disney shows, but this was my first real Broadway musical that I liked. I saw it at the ART, on Broadway, and on tour. It has everything you want in a show. Heart, humor, something that will make you cry, but something that will make you laugh. My favorite production was the ART one, but all three incarnations that I have seen have been exceptionally good. So, if it's coming to a city near you, or if you have not listened to Finding Neverland, I definitely recommend you listen to it. Harvey Weinstein produced it, and critics bashed the show, and I think this was mainly because of Weinstein, but we can all agree that he deserved it. It's just sad that such a beautiful show had to be a part of that. But anyways, moving on to number 9. Number 9 is Something Rotten. This show is extremely funny, absurd, and just everything you want if you want to go to the theater and go see a musical comedy. It has heart, humor, and while it doesn't make you cry, it makes you laugh out of your seat. This has some of the strongest book of any musical I have seen. And let's just say, if you hate Shakespeare and you love eggs, this show is exactly what you want. It's a very underrated show, and you either don't know a lot about it, or you're just kind of like, meh, and that's what critics thought, and despite it getting many Tony noms, it only brought home one. So again, if you have not listened to this or haven't seen it, please do. There's bootlegs, and you can listen to the album on YouTube. It's a highly underrated show and deserves way more respect than it actually gets. So moving on to number 8. Number 8 is Fun Home. This show brought home Best Book, Best Musical, Best Score, and many other Tony wins in 2015. Now, I didn't find out about this show until much later, but I did get to see the national tour. And guys, this show is just amazing in every way possible. It is possibly the most rawest show I've seen in my entire life. And it deals with such issues as the LGBTQ and living in suburban places and all that jazz, and just in general, it's a really hardcore show with some pretty deep, dark issues, but it has a very uplifting message. And I do have to say, the score for this is just off the charts good. The orchestrations, the themes, it's so good. So if you haven't watched this show, haven't listened to it, please do, because just like Something Rotten, it is highly overrated. Getting on to number 7. Number 7 is Jagged Little Pill. I saw this show at the ART back in 2018, and let me tell you something, it was amazing. And going back and listening to the cast album, I have such a high appreciation for some of the numbers that I didn't. It's so woke, it deals with big, hot topic issues like the Me Too movement, the opioid crisis, rape, it has everything. And also the choreography is just the best part about the show, and it's so expressive. And I'm saying this here first. Best choreography of the past decade, and that's just a fact. The characters are great, and if you haven't listened to it, please do. It's a really good show, and yeah, it's really dark, and it's definitely for a much older crowd, but you will not regret seeing it. Going on to number 6. Number 6 is Groundhog Day the Musical. Now, whilst I didn't see the show live, if you have listened to the cast recording, then you know why it's the best show of the past 10 years. Mitchen's meticulous lyrics and Andy Call's winning performance is all you need to make your life better. The show is also really well written, the songs are so catchy, and they're really good. It just was in a very competitive Broadway season, with the likes of Dear Evan Hanson, Come From Away, and Great Comet, oh, and Hello Dolly, with Bette Midler in it. In summary, it's a highly underrated show, and if you, the viewer, have not listened to it, then what are you doing with your life? Go listen to it. Number 5, SpongeBob SquarePants, the Broadway musical. I roll. Just kidding. Hey, I love this show as much as the next guy, but I truly do believe experiencing it live is different from watching a bootleg or even watching the professionally filmed pro shot we got only a couple weeks ago. When I saw it, it was an experience like no other. I was immersed in a different world, which you do in theater, but this was on a completely different level. Ethan Slater, Tina Landau, it's once again a very underrated show. And I think this is the theme, I guess, of the video, underrated shows, because again, these shows might be shows that people know about, but they don't either pay attention to or don't give it the credit they deserve. This could have easily been a major cash grab, but it wasn't. Number 4, be more chill. Now, I know this might be a controversial move because a lot of people hate the show, but a lot of people love it, and I love it. Yes, it has its flaws, and yes, I do think the Broadway production wasn't perfect, but I am on the side of this show helped me in so many remarkable ways, and I don't want to get into too many personal issues, but let's just say freshman year was only saved by Be More Chill and the album, and when I saw it, it was the most enjoyable theater experience I had. Yes, I felt empty once it was over, but it was still so good. And while it isn't an underrated show, many people consider it overrated. I consider it a nice, good show that you can see that could be really relatable to you, and even if it's not, it has great music. So it's going to be in Chicago, it's going to be in London, and yes, it closed after only 6 months on Broadway, which was a shame, but hey, it still made it on Broadway and defied the odds, and that's the big lesson and takeaway from Be More Chill. Number 3, Beetlejuice the musical. Now, yes, a lot of people don't like the show, but as time has evolved, many people have come to love this show, and it's now one of the most successful musicals of the past season, and yes, it's closing in June, and Scott Rudin and Hugh Jackman and Why Hugh, hashtag Save Beetlejuice, it's all very relevant. However, I will admit, I was always a big fan of this show, even before TikTok and the summer came, and when I listened to the album, it was so infectious, so good, so inspiring. I've seen the bootleg, and I haven't seen it live, but I love it, and it's not like the best show ever, but it's pretty high up on the list because of the score and how strong it is, and how it's just something you can just turn on in the car and just jam out to. So please go and see it, support it, and let's save Beetlejuice. Moving on to number 1. Number 2, Dear Evan Hansen. Now, yes, it's a very obvious choice, but I love the show. It helped me through rough times back in 2017, and seeing it live was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. It wasn't like SpongeBob, where it was super immersive, and it was this huge experience. It was a very intimate experience, and it was emotional and impactful. And it was one of the few times that I almost cried during a show. It also was something that I was hyped about, and it lived up to every expectation. And it's not like it's an underrated show, and it's not like it's overrated, but if you haven't seen it yet, please do, because it's an amazing show, despite its flaws. And now we get to the number 1 show of the decade, for me at least, and that's Hadestown. Now, yes, it only just came onto the Broadway scene, but these shows mean a lot to me, and the reason why they're in the top list is how meaningful they are to me, not so much how good they are. Although in this case, Hadestown's score was unlike anything I'd ever heard before. Its instruments, its orchestrations, its characters, it was amazing. And yes, the book is pretty weak, but its score is able to carry it through, and it so deserved all the Tony nominations it won, and it has a strong and very rapid fan base and has done exceptionally well recouping its initial investment, and honestly, I couldn't be more prouder of it. And yeah, that's my top 10 list. I want to thank everyone who subscribed to me over the past couple months, and thank you for supporting, liking, and commenting, and I cannot wait for what 2020 will hold, not for this channel, but for Broadway. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And thank you, Broadway, for the best 10 years of musical theater history ever. So remember, please like, subscribe, comment, and continue loving Broadway. Thank you.